Super fanboy guy. Do.
Hello, YouTube. This is Brandon, also known as Super Fanboy Guy, and we are doing another Versus System deck profile video for you today. This one is going to be the results of a previous video I did, and in that video, what I did is I let people decide which next Versus System deck profile video they wanted to see on my YouTube channel. And I gave out 4 different Marvel decks: the Marvel Knights deck, the Sinister Syndicate deck, the Shield Burn deck, and the Exiles deck. So I have with me in my hands the results of all the votes from the YouTube channel and from the Facebook group. And so this is what the final results were. In 4th place, with 1 vote, was the Exiles deck. I kind of expected that to happen because not a lot of people really like this deck, but I put it up on the ballot to vote because I don't know, maybe it would have surprised me and see if people wanted to see that. But yes, in 4th place with 1 vote was the Exiles deck. In 3rd place with 2 votes was the Shield Burn deck. I was kind of surprised. I thought this was going to get more votes because maybe I thought more people wanted to see it. But, you know, que sera. In 2nd place with 11 votes was the Marvel Knights deck. And with an astonishing 28 votes was the Sinister Syndicate deck. So everybody that voted wanted to see my Sinister Syndicate deck. So in this video, that is what I'm bringing you. And it is my Golden Age Sinister Syndicate deck. So I'm going to do, all my deck profile videos, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go through all of the cards and explain what they do, talk them through. And then this deck is actually really self-explanatory. It's just an aggro deck that you're trying to beat your opponent as fast as possible. So there's not a lot of strategies with the deck, but I'll briefly talk about them a little bit after we go through the deck profile. But, you know, let's just go ahead and get started with it. Starting with our 1-cost characters, we play 1 copy of Tinkerer Phineas Mason. He's a 1/1. At the start of the recovery phase, if you control more non-stun characters than each of your opponent, put a +1/+1 counter on target character you control. Next, we have Razor Fist, Sociopathic Mercenary. He's a 3/2 reservist. At the start of the combat phase, lose 1 endurance for each resource you control. Next, we have Mendel Strom. He's a 2/1 KO Mendel Strom. Put a +1/+1 counter on target Sinister Syndicate character you control. Next, we have Speed Demon Wizard. He is a 1/1 Thunderbolts and Sinister Syndicate character. At the start of your recruit step, put a +1/+1 counter on Speed Demon. Speed Demon has reinforcement while he has 2 or more +1/+1 counters. Next, we have Green Goblin Insanity Unleashed. He is a 1/1 character with flight and range. Substitute. He's also Thunderbolts and Sinister Syndicate. Stun Green Goblin. Put a +1/+1 counter on another target character. Next, we play 2 copies of Tombstone Lonnie Lincoln. He is a 3/4. At the start of your recruit step, KO Tombstone unless you discard a Sinister Syndicate character card from your hand. Next, we have 2 copies of Fusion Markley. He is a 2/1 reservist. KO a resource you control, draw a card, use only once per turn. Next, we have 2 copies of Slide Jalomi Breacher. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's a 2/1 reservist. Pay 1 endurance. Sinister Syndicate characters you control will cost 2 or less, can attack hidden characters this turn. Next, we have 3 copies of Basculus Basil Elks. He is a 4/1 with flight and range. He comes into play tap. Whenever he causes breakthrough while attacking a character, that character cannot ready this turn. Next, we have 4 copies of the Lizard Voracious Predator. He is a 1/1. At the start of the combat phase, reveal the top card of your deck if you control another Sinister Syndicate character. Lose endurance equal to that character's cost, then put it into your hand. And finishing up our 1-cost characters, we have 4 copies of Vulture Adrian Toombs. He is a 2/1 with flight. As an additional cost to recruit Vulture, reveal another Sinister Syndicate character card from your hand. Whenever Vulture causes breakthrough, you gain that much endurance. Moving on to the 2-cost characters, we play 1 copy of Electro Shock Jock. He is a 5/2 with range. Whenever Electro defends, lose 3 endurance. Next, for the 2-cost characters, we have 1 copy of Hammerhead Gangster. He is a 3/2. Sinister Syndicate attackers you control get +2 attack while attacking a player directly. Next, we have Swarm Fritz von Meyer. He is a 1/2 with flight and range. He has reservists. Swarm gets +1 attack for each resource you control. Next, we have 2 copies of Answer, Aaron Nicholson. He is a 2/2 with flight. He has reservists. Whenever Answer attacks a character, you may pay X endurance, where X is that character's defense. If you do, Answer gets +X attack this attack. Next, we have 2 copies of Vermin, Sewer Rat. He is a 3/2. When you recruit Vermin, you may search your deck for a character card named Vermin, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Whenever Vermin becomes stunned, you may KO him. If you do, you may put a character card named Vermin from your hand into your front row exhausted. There's no 3-cost characters in the deck, so the next character cost we have is 4. And this is actually going to be the last character for our deck, and that is 2 copies of Carnage, Psychopath. He is a 9/7. He has Loyalty Reveal. At the start of the combat phase, lose 1 endurance for each resource you control. He also has a boost effect. KO a resource you control. When Carnage enters play, characters get +2 this attack. In this deck, we run 5 different equipment cards, and starting off with our equipment cards, we're going to play 2 copies of Alien Symbiote. Equipped character gets +3 attack and gains the Sinister Syndicate affiliation. At the start of the combat phase, lose 1 endurance for each resource you control. The next equipment is going to be 2 copies of Kick. And what this does is equipped character gets +4 attack. Whenever equipped character becomes stunned, KO it. And the last equipment in our deck is a 2-cost equipment, and that is Goblin Glider. Goblin Glider costs 1 less to recruit for each Sinister Syndicate character you recruited this turn. Equipped character gets +4 attack and has flight and range. Moving on to location cards, starting with the 1-cost location cards, we play 2 copies of Doc Ock's Lab. Activate, pay 3 endurance. Target Sinister Syndicate attacker gets +3 attack this attack. Next, we play 1 copy of Osborne Industries. Activate, discard a Sinister Syndicate character card from your hand, draw a card, or you can activate, discard 2 cards from your hand to draw a card. After that, we have 3 copies of The Vault. Activate, reveal the top X cards of your deck and lose X endurance, where X is the number of resources you control. Put a revealed Sinister Syndicate card into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your deck. And the last location that we play in the deck is a 2-cost location, and that is 2 copies of Hidden Cache. It has Terraform. Activate, target Sinister Syndicate attacker or defender you control gets +X attack this attack, where X is the number of resources you control, and you lose X endurance. Moving on to our plot twist cards, we're going to start with our 1-cost plot twist, and we run 4 copies of Flying Kick. Target character has flight this turn. While attacking this turn, that character gets +3 attack. The next plot twist card is probably one of the staples and one of the essential cards in the Sinister Syndicate deck, and that is going to be 4 copies of Legacy of Evil. Play only if you control more Sinister Syndicate characters than resources. Draw 2 cards. Next, we play 4 copies of Trial by Fire. Target attacker you control gets +2 attack this attack and an additional +2 attack this attack if you control 4 or fewer resources. And concluding the plot twist, we run 4 copies of a 3-cost plot twist. And this is also another important part of the Sinister Syndicate deck, in my opinion. And that is 4 copies of Spider Hunt. If you play no other plot twists this turn, KO a resource you control, and Sinister Syndicate characters you control get +2 attack this turn. So that concludes the deck profile portion of this video. So I'm going to briefly talk about some of the strategies of the deck. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this deck is pretty self-explanatory. The point of the deck is just to beat your opponent for as much damage as you can. But there is a couple of things that I do want to talk about the deck that, we're going to go over now. Let's say, for an example, you have a field similar to this and it's turn 4. And let's say you also have your equipments in your hand and it is your initiative. Well, I would recommend that depending on what equipment you draw and what your field looks like, and obviously what you do, you definitely want to play your equipment cards when you're on the initiative. And the reason why that is because, for an example, if we have a card like the Kick that we equip to a character when it's not our initiative, well, what can happen is our opponent can decide to attack into that character, and then with kick, when they become stunned, you KO the character. So when you play the equipments during your initiative, you can kind of decide that, oh, I'm going to have, maybe this character attack first, and then going in with this character, maybe to clear off their field. So that way you can attack directly for a lot of damage. So that's why I recommend playing the equipment cards mainly on your initiative. And also Vulture, as I read in the deck profile segment of this video, he gains endurance when he causes breakthrough. So ideally, you want to put the big equipment cards on him. He's like one of the very good targets for it. So if we put like the kick on him, he becomes a 6/1. And by doing that, you can notice in the deck too that there's a lot of cards that make us lose endurance. And Vulture kind of helps stem that bleeding a little bit by gaining endurance when he causes breakthrough. So that's something to consider. So for an example, we have cards like the Dog Ox Lab where they get +3 attack and pay 3 endurance. So if we activate that on Vulture, for an example, we do lose the life, but we could potentially gain that same life back when we cause breakthrough with him. And when he becomes equipped, he just becomes more powerful, and he makes us that Vulture makes gaining endurance a lot easier when we can attack them directly. Because if we attack them directly, that's the time where we're going to gain the most endurance from his effect. So that's just one example of something you can do with the deck. So another strategy I want to talk about the deck involves this guy right here, the Carnage Psychopath. So what we do, let's say this is an example of what our field looks like. And I also forgot to mention, this is a deck that wants to take the even initiative. And the reason why you want to take the even initiative is because of this card. Because essentially what we're going to do is we're going to play Carnage and KO a resource. It could be maybe a resource that we used, face up, but it doesn't matter. So we're going to KO him. So all of our Sinister Syndicate will get +2 attack this turn. Well, in addition to that, we can also go big and play Spider Hunt, maybe flip it up and KO this resource to give all of our guys. Now they have +4 attack with Spider Hunt and the Carnage. So if it's our initiative, we're going to have a big attack this attack. Yeah, we're down 2 resources, but this is a deck that just wants to beat your opponent as fast as possible. And, we can also play... Now, also remember with Spider Hunt, essentially how this is worded, you can only play once per turn is another way to think about it. So because if you flip this up and you say, okay, we're going to KO this resource, but then we're going to also flip up another Spider Hunt, you actually can't, because this is the other plot twist you played this turn. So keep that in mind as well. But you definitely want to play Carnage when it's your initiative. So if for some reason you're not on the even initiative, the initiative that you want to be on, you could play him on turn 5 instead and go for like the big swing kill that turn as well. So this is just a couple of other ideas you can do, but this 4-drop Carnage is probably one of the most important character cards in the game. And then ideally what we want to do, we want to use draw effects like from the Lizard or from like Oscorp Industries or the Vault. We use these draw cards so that we can draw our like pump up spells like Trial by Fire, so that we can build up our hand to the point where we get to this turn where we're ready to do a big attack on our opponent. So that's kind of the strategies why we have a lot of the cards that draw a lot of cards in the deck. And also that's another reason why we play Legacy of Evil, just so we can draw hopefully enough of our attack pump cards to, go off by turn 4 and hopefully kill them by that turn. So another question that a lot of people have on their minds is, why are we playing with a lot of cards that make us lose endurance? So like either the Lizard, the Razor Fist, the Electro, Doc Ox Lab, the Vault, and Hidden Cache. We want to kill our opponent as fast as possible, and these cards kind of help with doing that. Electro is a 5/2, which is a lot of damage. So for an example, if you play them by turn 2 and they don't have any characters out yet, that's 5 damage that you're swinging in the face with them. Plus, if you pay, extra 3 for Doc Ox Lab, yeah, you're losing 3, but that's also 3 more direct damage that you're attacking with your opponent. But you got to be careful how you use some of these cards, because with this deck, if you don't have the Vulture out on the field, because he's going to help you gain all that endurance, The hard part is going to be to try to, if you don't have him out, you got to really be careful with your life total. And you have to you shouldn't just activate this just to stun your opponent's character. You should activate this if you know you're going to be able to hit them for direct damage. Same with the Vault. And, well, not the Vault, but with hitting cash. The Vault is just used to help you get extra cards so that you can get like more attack pump cards like, Spider Hunt or stuff like that. So that's kind of the reason why we have these endurance costing cards, the cards that make us pay endurance, is because we want to try to beat our opponent as fast as possible. So that's kind of the theme with the Sinister Syndicate deck. They also have a theme with KOing resources for big effects too, which obviously with the Carnage and the Spider Hunt is an example of those. So that's kind of something to be aware of. Use your endurance as a resource. So kind of think of it as the Death Shadows deck in Magic. That's exactly what the Sinister Syndicate deck is. It's a Death Shadows deck, essentially. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more Versus System deck profile videos. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.